Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strip Search, the comic strip podcast. We are back once again. It's spring of 2025. I am Pete Chianca here with Dave London. Hello, Dave.
Hey Pete,
How are you this fine spring day?
I am doing well. It's nice to be out of the winter and far away from snow, you know.
Yeah, we're like 3 days away from snow.
Right.
We got snow here on Saturday in mid-April.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure what was up with that, but it started as of yesterday. It was feeling a little more spring-like here in the greater
I
Boston
think
area.
it was the executive order to the weather and
That's true. Although do we even have a weather bureau anymore? I think they may have disbanded.
it's all free for us. Freeze-meister and Heat-meister, I think, are just running things.
Yes, I would buy that. So we are getting ready for, I'm sure, what will be a busy summer in the world of cartooning and illustrating and all the other things we like to talk about here. And there actually have been a couple of sort of high profile projects and things. There's one I haven't watched it yet, but I believe you taped it last night. You told me. You want to talk about that?
I did so yeah. So Art Spiegelman, "Disaster Is My Muse" is the name of it. So on PBS, on it's the American Masters series. The latest episode, which I have taped but not watched yet, so I can't really talk about the substance of it. But the general idea is Art Spiegelman, who I think is very well known for writing and drawing the Mouse. Graphic novels about his parents' time in the Holocaust, and so there's a 2 hour special, and so I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yes, I remember when you and I were at Tufts, that's when I first read Mouse. It was assigned in I took a Holocaust literature class with Jonathan Wilson, who I believe you know as well from those days.
Yep.
And yeah, it was really sort of, I don't know, the phrase life-changing is thrown around a lot, but it was really certainly like nothing I'd ever read at that point. And it still sort of stands alone, I think, as a sort of an amazing and certainly seminal work on that subject. And I know somebody at the time, and this is probably in the movie, somebody said, don't you think it's in bad taste to do a comic book about the Holocaust? And he said, actually, I think the Holocaust was in bad taste.
That is the quote. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
um,
Exactly. That reminds me of like when Robin Williams was being interviewed by some German television show, and she was asking, the host was asking Robin Williams why he thought that there's not as much comedy in Germany. And he says, well, maybe it's because you killed all the funny people.
yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will definitely be checking that out, and we'd recommend everybody do that and let us know what you thought. And the other thing that people are in the comics world seem to be talking a lot about is the GoComics site, which is through Andrews McNeil and is where really almost every major comic strip is housed these days in terms of their online home. Just did a big update of the site of the way you sort of access the comics, and it's gotten a lot of buzz, not all of it great from what I've.
Most of it negative. It's almost as if Doge got in there and just ruined it.
Yes. Oh, did anyone consider that? Maybe Musk wasn't put in charge of the
Like,
Go Comics.
but from what we've heard, yeah, there's a limited ability to go and see historic strips, to search for your favorite strips, and so on. So it appears to be just a big kind of kerfluffle.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm of sort of two minds. Like what they're probably trying to do is encourage more people to pay. You want more
Hmm.
than the last 3 days of strips? Well, you got to subscribe and do the paid tier. And I sort of get it. You got to make money somehow. And I work in the newspaper industry. And after years of giving it away, people finally said, you know what, we need to start putting some of the stuff behind a paywall, or we're all doomed. And some have made better use of that than others in terms of actually getting people to pony up. So I get that, and if the money is going back to cartoonists, I can get behind that, although my understanding is not a whole lot of it does, unless you're one of the big, similar to any other industry, publishing or whatever. If you're one of the big ones, you do okay. And if you're one of the not so big, you don't necessarily see those funds. But I thought it was interesting, just poking around online to see the reaction. I found the Garfield subreddit, which is a thing of like, and the Garfield fans are just pissed off. They do not like this at all. They're all talking about, well, it's a good thing I own every book, so I don't need the GoComics archive. I'm just picturing these people's houses, 200 Garfield books lined up on shelves. Um,
I bought those things like crazy. I mean, I remember the original, the first book compilation of Garfield. It's hilarious, the original strips.
it was, and I'm not going to disparage it now because it is a classic, but those early days I think had a bit more of a biting humor than the ones you might see out there today. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if they sort of go back to the drawing board and rejigger any of that given the reaction. Um, and again, I want them to do well and make money and funnel that money back to cartoonists, but you want it to be a pleasant experience because it's hard to get comic
Mm.
strips in front of people.
It is.
They
It
just
is.
aren't out there like they used to be.
As we know, it is hard to get comic strips in front of people.
Right, right. And a
Uh,
lot of times, and if you're talking about younger people, sometimes you have to explain to them what a comic strip is.
or what a newspaper is.
Yes, exactly. So more power to Go Comics. Hopefully that we'll
Right.
figure this out and people will
And
be able to see.
speaking of getting comic strips in front of people, we have some news about our strip, right?
Do we?
Well, where we're going to be showing it in book form at an event.
That is
Did I
correct.
did I not tee this up well enough? Did I? What-
Well, we actually have a few things, and I guess we can sort of. I think I don't recall if we mentioned this before, but we have not one but two new books in the works
Two books.
for Pet Peeves, our comic strip. One is a sequel to our book collecting our single panel color panels. And another, this is a new foray for us, a coloring book for the younger readers. Because we realized if you're limiting yourself to people who can actually read, that
It's
that very
you
much
just cut off a whole swath of society.
exactly. It's way too small an audience. So
Right.
we are working on those, and you will be able to see them at this event that you mentioned. Want to talk a little bit about that?
So July 13th, Sunday, July, is it Sunday? It's July 13th. I think it's a Sunday, but I have to double check the calendar. We will be at the Ashland Public Library in Ashland, Mass, with a bunch of other great artists at a kids fest. So this is a fest organized by um, the folks who have done the Boston Kids Comic Fest in prior years, and they're putting together a great kids comic fest at the Ashland Library. We don't have all the full date details yet of time on it, but when we get that, we will certainly post it on our website, petpeevescomic.com. But mark that in your calendar. Plan to come see us. Plan to buy some of our books if you so wish.
Right.
Some of our new books, even.
Right. You could consider this a save the date. You know how people do that? You send out a
They
save the date, and then you send out the invitation.
Right. This is the save the date. And I think we'll be doing a presentation possibly about how to write and draw a cartoon strip over there.
That's right. That's right. So much more to come on that, but mark it on your calendar now so you don't, plan to do something like go to the beach when you could be at the Ashland Public Library with us.
Exactly.
And yeah, and in the meantime, there's another big event that's coming up much sooner at the end of April in Boston called the Comics in Color Fest. It's the fifth annual one, and in just 1 minute, we're going to be talking to our old friend Cagen Luse about how that's coming together. How's that
Looking
sound?
forward to it. And before we get to that, I think I'm just gonna run and change my shirt. So if you come back and you're watching this on video, I may put on a black pullover instead of this blue shirt I'm wearing right now. Not because we're recording this on different days or anything.
That's right. This is all a seamless operation here at Strip Search, the comic strip podcast. All right, then we will be back in less than a minute with Dave's new shirt and with Hagen Luse of Comics in Color. Stay tuned, everybody. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strip Search, the comic strip podcast with me, Pete Chianca, and my partner, Dave London. We are at our favorite part of the show when we introduce our special guest. Kagan Luce is a longtime Boston cartoonist who used to do the lunchtime comic strip in Dig Boston, and lately you might have seen his political illustrations in the Bay State Banner. He is also the co-founder with Barrington Edwards of the Comics in Color Fest in Roxbury, the only comics event in Boston focusing on stories by and about people of color. This year's festival is coming April 25th and 26th to Roxbury Community College and the Reggie Lewis Center in Roxbury. And Kagan's going to tell us all about it. Kagan, welcome to Strip Search.
Hey, thank you so much. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, no, it's great to see you as always. And I can't believe we are coming up on the fifth Comics in Color Festival. Is that right?
Yeah, it's hard to believe from such humble beginnings to make
I
it
know
5 years is pretty amazing.
I mean, I remember when we talked to you about the first one, it does not seem like it was that long ago. And it's also the first time I believe that it's being held over 2 days. Can you tell us a little bit about, what people can expect this year?
Absolutely. So we're so excited. This being our fifth year, it's kind of a big deal. So we decided we were going to try to make it 2 days. People have been kind of requesting it, so we were going to give it a try. But I decided to do kind of what I'm calling a soft 2 days, meaning that on the Friday night we're going to have an opening panel. Um, it's called Frontiers of Imagination, and it features the majority of our special guests, and it's going to be hosted by Joel Gill. And it's going to be on the main stage at the Media Arts Center at Roxbury Community College at 6 p.m. on a Friday night, April 25th. We have some amazing special guests this year that will be featured on this panel. The one I'm really excited about is Kerry Randolph. He is a Boston-based comics illustrator who's been doing huge things all over the world. So to get him back to Boston for this is kind of a big deal. We've been trying for the last 5 years to pull him in here. We've got Barbara Brandon Croft, the first Black woman nationally syndicated comic strip artist. So that's pretty amazing. Greg Burnham, who's kind of a indie darling with his comic Tuskegee Airs and Search for Sadaka, but he's also started writing for DC, and he's done a Superman and an Icon story. Um, we've got, let's see who else. Buttercup is an indie artist who just published their first book, and it's really a great book called So I'm excited about them and their perspective. Let's see who else. Nyla Magruder, who is a children's author. I'm really excited to have her. Jarrett Melendez, who's a local guy who does cookbooks, among other things, comic-inspired cookbooks, and Stephanie Williams, who is a writer for DC, who writes things like Nubia and Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. So not to go on too long, but those are some of our special guests. And so we'll have them on that panel on Friday night. And then Saturday is, of course, the full day of festival. We have workshops, panels, a cosplay contest. We have about 65 artists coming in this year. There's going to be performances. We have a comedy and dance and hip hop, some little performances, and it's just going to be amazing. So for the fifth year, we're kind of trying to, take it to the next level. So this is
That's
what you'll
awesome.
experience.
And the panelists from Friday, they'll also be there Saturday for people who maybe missed them the night before.
Yeah, they'll be doing book signings, and they'll also be on a few panels on Saturday as well.
That's awesome.
So for people who are maybe a little bit late to the party, can you talk about how things got started back 5 years ago? How did Comics in Color get off the ground?
Yes, well, we started back in 2018 with the when uh, Black Panther came out. My partner Barrington and I felt like that was really the time to start this. We had traveled to New York to a comic festival there, and we're just so inspired. We felt like we needed to do it in Boston, so we we planned and plotted and schemed for a couple of years, and then 2018 we said this is the time, and we started out with just kind of a meetup at a local library where we brought in our collection of comics and we literally laid them on the table and talked about them. And we had about 15 people come in that time, and then the next time we got about 30 people, and it just started growing and growing. And after a couple of sessions, LJ Baptiste came over and said, I would like to come and just talk about my comics. I said, that's a great idea. So from that point on, we started bringing in different artists to come and talk about their work. And it just kept growing and growing. And after about 2 years, we said, it's time to go for a full festival. Well, if you are doing the timing, we started in 2018. 2 years later, we decided to do the festival. That was 2020. So that festival didn't happen. It was planned for April 4th, 2020. And of course, COVID took that one. But we were able to um, get ourselves back together. And we did a hybrid festival for the first year with an outdoor artist alley and then online programming, which was an interesting challenge. But and then after that, we've been doing that at the Reggie Lewis Center and just growing and growing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I remember that first year with the hybrid approach, which is something we were all getting used to in all aspects of our lives. And it seemed like a really good way to get it off the ground. And of course, also in 2021, we were sort of in the midst of still in the midst of the movement, inspired by the murder of George Floyd. And now we are sort of at a different moment where we're seeing this unprecedented attack on diversity and inclusion by the Trump administration. So, this seems like just the type of thing he wouldn't like for various reasons. So why is it important that something like Comics in Color exists, given that is something that's going on today?
Well, I think that comics of color has always been important, and our mission is always to kind of like bring people of color's stories out and support artists telling their stories. But now it's become even more important, and it's put even more of a battery in my back, and I think the back of my committee that we want to continue this because I think that we need spaces now that where diversity and inclusion is just built into it, where it's not like an extra thing where they're like, oh, well, we'll just decide not to do that this year. This is, it's baked into what we're doing. So I think that these kind of events are even more important now. And I would like to believe that, we'll continue to get the kind of support that we've been getting, which has been wonderful, you know, but it just becomes that much more important when you're getting all these messages from the media and from our government that your story is not important, or that diverse stories are not what they want to hear. I think it makes it even more important that we amplify diverse stories and keep bringing events like this to happen.
And have you seen just year to year in terms of say like young would-be cartoonists or just kids who love comics, what's their reaction and response to seeing sort of their stories being told and celebrated like this?
It's just the most beautiful thing to see the joy on children's faces when they walk in the room and just see all the different stories they can see, and when they pick up a story that reflects them, and they can see that. I think that's just one of the most beautiful things that I can see. But also, um, you know, I'm trying to also develop young people to tell their stories as well, right? Not just see their stories out there, but also create their stories. So I've been loving seeing like some of the young people develop over the years. My son, of course, is a comic artist, and of course I get to see him develop. But Niall Hennick is another one who's he must be about 13 now, but has been his first comic convention was our first, the outdoor hybrid one, and he's since grown into this amazing comic artist. We're also sponsoring a comics camp at the Nubian Square Library, where we have Dave Ortega come in and teach a bunch of kids for a week working on their comics during school vacation, and then they get to come and table and sell their comics at Comics in Color. So they get kind of the full range of the experience, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. I always liked, something I always liked about this one is it really does seem to, um, spur creativity among the people there, their like their own personal creativity, in addition to seeing what other people have to offer. You get the sense that people are walking out of there of all ages. And I remember you telling us a story once about I think an older woman who maybe came with her kid or grandkid to one of those and wound up really loving making comics. And just that people can sort of come out of there. And is that one of the goals, or just sort of a happy byproduct, when people sort of get their creativity sparked like that?
Oh, it's absolutely a goal. I mean, I kind of give my guarantee that you will come out of here inspired, right? If you come to Comics in Color, you're going to come out inspired. But I love to see, especially the multi-generational, the families or the grandparents bringing their grandchildren. And a lot of times I find that, you know, we people who were into comics as kids, and then they get to be, teenagers or young adults, and they're like, oh, those are childish things. I got to put that away. And we kind of like give them permission to go back to your comics, because so many older folks come and say, oh, I loved comics when I was a kid, but I just haven't really been keeping up with them. But now that I'm seeing this, I can kind of embrace this. I can see myself in these stories, and it's wonderful. So yeah, the inspiration is definitely part of what we're trying to accomplish here, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of it.
I'd say.
I want to go back. You talked about the great lineup on Friday and the guests. So just to tee back that up again, how did you actually go out to recruit those guests? You told us who they were, but now let's talk about how you were able to get them and reach out and commit.
Well, a couple of different ways. I take a multi-prong approach where I go to conventions. I'll travel around to different conventions and meet people and one-on-one, engage them and follow up and get them to come. Or I also have a bunch of publishers that I reach out to. Buttercup came to us through Radiator Comics. So we reach out to publishers, and they send us a list of people that they think might be interested. Um, and Barbara, came last year. But yeah, so it's a multi-pronged approach. Or sometimes I just, harass people on social media and say, wouldn't you like to come to my festival? I will pay for you to come. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I get a lot of no's in the beginning. Usually the way it works out is I go after all sorts of people and I get a lot of no's, and then I keep going after a whole bunch of people, and then I get a whole bunch of yeses, and I've got to like, figure out who I can actually bring in and who I can't. So it's usually, famine in the beginning, and then it turns into a feast, and I've got to figure all that out.
And I imagine, just as with each passing year, more people hear about it, and the reputation grows. And you have Joel Christian Gill, who we've spoken to before, who just must have a tremendous network
Oh
just on
yeah.
his own, given his roots in Boston and universities here, and just what he's done.
Yeah, he's an amazing resource. And I mean, there is a really great comics community here in Boston, like maybe it's the academics or whatever, but his program, Mass Art, Barrington, my partner works at Mass Art as the illustration instructor, so he's got a whole slew of young people coming up interested in comics as well. So I think the kids are all right. We're gonna have some more comics coming, and another generation of folks that are really excited about comics.
That's awesome. Well, we don't want to keep you for too long, but we did have just give you one last opportunity to tell people anything else they need to know about Comics in Color before it hits at the end of the month. Other than that, admission is free. Is that correct?
Admission is free with reservation. I will be doing reservations at the door, but you can also reserve them online. Our website, comicsincolor.org, has a lot of great stuff on it. I just posted the full schedule up there on Saturday, so you can go on there and see what all the panels are, all the workshops, who all the people are who are going to be exhibiting and speaking. So definitely the website's a great resource to find out what's happening on the weekend, and follow us on social media, support independent comics. um, you know, yeah, come out and enjoy it and support the comics. And yeah, we're gonna just keep trying to make this happen for our community.
That's
And
awesome.
also very easy to get to, public transportation, but if people drive, I know there's ample parking, free parking.
Yep. Free parking. We're right on the orange line at Roxbury Crossing, right near Nubian Square. So all the buses come there. So yeah, come on down. It's easy to get here. There's free parking, and yeah, it's gonna be beautiful.
Yes, and you might even get some decent weather. I think after we had our
Yeah.
April snowstorm this past Saturday, at least up where I was.
Yeah, right. I'm
Uh,
so hoping the weather will be nice because we also are planning to do like an interactive art activity right out front of the Reggie Lewis Center, so you can start, you know, getting your inspiration on as soon as you step into the area, if the weather's nice. Otherwise, it'll be inside.
mhm. Excellent. Well, everybody, Kagan did a very good job of explaining how you need to check out what's going to be happening and how you can find that information, but you will also find it at our website, petpeevescomic.com, where we'll have links back to all of their information. And you can also catch up on some of our past interviews if you are so inclined with Kagan and with others who are involved in this year's event. Kagan, we really wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you guys so much, and thank you for having me. I always appreciate talking to you guys.
No, we love having
Absolutely.
you on. And everybody else, we will be back shortly with yet another episode of Strip Search, the comic strip podcast. Thanks again.